Hello everybody and welcome to the Real Housewives Edit. My name is Elle and I'm here to talk to you about the two loves of my life, editing and housewives. I know what you guys might be thinking. Oh my gosh, it's only been a week since you've had your baby. Why are you not spending time with your baby and you're making videos for your YouTube channel? All I can say is that I have been waiting to talk to you guys about these reunion episodes and I just could not help myself. This baby is actually my number 4 baby. I kind of have a routine now where I can actually film and do what I love. Don't look too closely at the video and see the bags under my eyes. Today we are going to talk about reunion part 2. I know it was a week ago, but I still wanted to cover just the tail end of the episode because I thought it was so juicy from an editing point of view. Let's just jump right into it.
Any thoughts about giving up social media for a time?
I try, certainly. I do
I'm
try.
sorry, I gotta laugh, I guess.
At Roni Bravo says, from doxing people to posting racial microaggressions to just being a disaster on Instagram, Rinna needs to be put on pause. She's too much this year.
Put me on pause.
Okay, so what's interesting, from an editing perspective, you can kind of hear, and this is just like such a nerd small thing, like I don't even know why I'm bringing it up to you guys, but it's kind of fun. So when they cut to her posts, her Instagram story posts, you can hear Andy's audio like cuts a little bit where he says the thing, about racist. You can tell that they messed with that audio a little bit.
Doxing people to posting racial microaggressions to just being a disaster on Instagram, Rinna needs to be put on pause.
I'm always curious when I hear audio being messed with a little bit because I'm like, what did they actually say? Did they mess up on their words? Like, this is the dumb stuff that makes me excited. I don't know about you guys, but just for you guys to check into it. Anytime that they need to fix audio, it's the only strategy is to use coverage to cover, his mouth because you don't want to see them cut the words out or whatever they had to cut out there. But what they did was they just overlaid her stories so we could kind of get more of an idea of what he's referencing. What was interesting is then when they cut back to Rinna and she's grabbing her water, we all know that when we get uncomfortable, we tend to find things to do with our hands. We take sips of water, say little extra things just because we're not thinking, we're trying to distract ourselves or whoever we're talking to from what's actually at hand. So you can tell when she grabs the water, and I think they really left this in purposely. I mean, they couldn't have really cut around it, but it's definitely something, that makes the shot less clean is her grabbing her water and, putting it back there. I think they purposely wanted to show that stuff because you can tell the look on her face, especially when they start getting into sort of like the microaggressions conversation and the racism conversation and stuff like that. You can tell that actually is hitting her and they want to show that uncomfortability. It's great for storyline, it's great for reunion. It's great also just to vindicate the audience a little bit, which I think is something that's really important that Bravo does whenever they kind of have a cast member wade into like murky waters. They have to really address it and kind of show that they're not playing easy on the person who transgressed, if you will.
Put me on pause. I don't care.
Oh, okay. This was another moment. Sorry, I just had to stop it again. So 2 things I wanted to point out. First of all, she's drinking a water bottle with a straw. I'm sure you guys have seen people do that, on sets or in the confessionals. They're always using straws. Straws are like something that a makeup artist will always have in their makeup bag, or they always are on set. Anytime you have a woman who's wearing, lipstick or lip gloss or anything like that, having them drink just out of a cup or out of a water bottle, you're gonna lose that lipstick and there's gonna have to be much more touch-ups. So you'll see straws anytime you see someone sort of like behind the scenes in something where they wanna look glam. That's just a total random side note. But I did love this pause that they left in and Garcelle's reaction shot to when Lisa says,
Put me on pause. I don't care.
My favorite thing ever that the editors did was put that reaction shot in of Garcelle. Her face is just so, I believe, mimicking a lot of our faces where it's almost like, yeah, that's not how you feel. You care absolutely the most probably out of anyone about being put on pause. We all know this, and Garcelle's reaction shot, really illuminated that reaction. I believe, that's just my opinion. We don't know if that's actually the reaction that Garcelle gave at that moment. We will never know. I can imagine that was the face that Garcelle made, but every once in a while I'll check in and I'll be like, gosh, I wonder if they pulled that from some other moment where it was just too perfect the way she looked. Like it was such a representation of what a lot of us feel, and they are like, okay, let's just use that instead of what she actually did, which might have been, a little bit different or more subtle or whatever it is. So anyway, I loved it. Let's continue.
You also posted in a post that you wound up deleting.
Yes.
You said, if we fight with Garcelle, we're called.
Okay, so quickly, that was another moment there where they cut to that 4-shot on the couch. Dorit, Erica, Rinna, and Crystal. They have Lisa putting her water back and looking, it's that thing when you're uncomfortable, you tend to really, really focus on activities that you would normally do without thinking about. She's really focused on, her eyes are really focused on making sure this water bottle goes back because she obviously is very uncomfortable with this conversation. They could have just stayed on Andy while he's asking that question and not shown her putting the water bottle back, because obviously it does kind of break the sheen of the reunion look and all that stuff to have her reaching to a back table. But they cut to it on purpose, again, because I think the same purpose that they did, just a minute ago when she was actually drinking the water, they really want to show that she's very uncomfortable with this situation, genuinely uncomfortable, not just the uncomfortable that she kind of puts on, I think she put on a little bit earlier in this episode. So they left that in, and now here they are, they're going to be cutting to more of these stories, these social media posts that she did.
We're called racist.
That's true.
That's bullshit. I won't accept it. I'll express myself when and how I want. I'm not afraid of any of you hoes.
Well, that got a little misinterpreted because I was talking to the trolls and the haters coming at me.
Okay, great. So what they did there was they cut to Garcelle's reaction again. Garcelle is very, very serious and intent in this moment. It's very much that reaction of go ahead, explain yourself. And they definitely wanted to cut to her in this moment. Garcelle's face is saying it all.
That's what happens.
And what's your reaction to that?
Sometimes what is said is perceived differently when it comes to us. So therefore, if you're not around a lot of people of color, if you're not around a lot of, just like we had the whole thing with the charity. You calling me out about not paying with the charity cut me to the core.
So it's interesting to me. I was really interested in the fact that they did this flashback with her and Kyle, but they never actually completed the flashback where she actually addresses the issue to Kyle, but they only left this tiny little moment in.
You calling me out about not paying with the charity cut me to the core.
Remember, you guys, they only have really 44 minutes to work with. So the editors made a choice there. Are we going to really super explain that moment? And remember, that was 2 seasons ago. I think 2 seasons ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. So a lot of people who are watching this, who maybe haven't watched The Housewives before, they may not even know kind of what that context is or where that kind of came in. But the editors still made that decision to only leave that tiny piece, that tiny hint in it. I see more and more of them doing less explaining with flashbacks. I think they are really trying to pander in a good way to their audience who have been on board for a long time. I do not think at this point they're wasting their time trying to over-explain to anyone who's just new to the franchise. I think they're pretty confident that most of us who have been watching for so many years and get all of the references. But it's a risk that they take, not over-explaining and not kind of giving all of the context to the moment. And that's just an example of it right there.
The core. Sometimes what you say could have an undertone of being racist, could be a microaggression.
That's
What
how
were
I
you gonna
felt
say?
in my conversation.
About what?
My original conversation with Sutton is how
I thought that was such an interesting reaction from Garcelle when she was like,
About what?
she's so serious about it to Crystal. She doesn't give her anything. She's not yeah, exactly, or anything like that. People like that terrify me. I don't know about you, but when people are and Garcelle's one of these, she terrifies me, but also I want to be friends with her. They don't help you a lot in your conversation. When you're in the conversation with someone and they're very good about filling in the spaces for you and kind of help you out, especially myself, sometimes if I'm talking to people, I'll get like social anxiety and like trip up on my words or whatever. Garcelle's like, about what? Like she just holds Crystal right to it again. Like, okay, explain yourself again. And I think Garcelle does know what she means, but there's something so firm and like confident about Garcelle in that moment. It terrifies me in a good way.
Conversation with Sutton is how I felt. I now know that that was not her intention, but the impact was how I felt.
I think it's a little different though.
Okay, so interesting, right? They let that pause play out big time. We got 3 reaction shots in that pause. We don't know if that pause actually happened on set, but the editors, either let it play out just normally like it did, or they kind of let that pause breathe a little bit more to give us, the audience, sort of a feel of uneasiness, like, okay, is she making a good point? Or, and they show these 3 reaction shots, even of Sutton kind of giving like a look like, I'm not really sure if that makes total sense. So it gives us, as the audience, another kind of dramatic moment, even though it's not super, super dramatic, but it's dramatic in the way that she's trying to make a point again, and it's just not landing. That pause, that kind of awkward pause that either they built or actually happened, is illuminating more this sort of like awkward, uncomfortable feeling.
You gotta stop, Kyle.
No,
Enough
actually,
already.
you have to stop.
Enough.
No, actually, you have to stop.
I'm saying this
because
is
you're
my
comparing 2 different
experience.
things. You actually said something that didn't actually exist. You were saying
No,
that something
the
was out there. She's
conversation
talking about
existed, and she
things
made a
being
public
important.
apology towards me because she said she understood how I then felt about it. As you apologized to Garcelle because you didn't realize
that was a very
your
clean.
So you guys see just really what they're doing right now is building this argument between Kyle and Crystal. Now, it could have happened just like this on set, but I really like to illuminate these little points to you guys just because, in a reunion setting, again, they're filming for like, 8 to 10 hours, and they have to just give us 3 episodes of 40 minutes each, including behind the scenes stuff and, Jamie Lee Curtis coming out and stuff. So they really have to kind of make this stuff move. And this argument between Kyle and Crystal, I don't know if it went longer. I don't know if it went exactly how it did, but I will tell you, they're doing 1 shots of each of them, right? Crystal, Kyle, reaction to Sutton. That tells me, just because they're not doing a lot of wide shots where you can see them actually talking together, like in the same frame, this is just my hunch that they're definitely pulling the best moments from each of them and kind of building something, not changing the conversation, but taking out any fluff because they literally have to. I've never worked on any project where there hasn't been fluff in a conversation, unless it's scripted, honestly. I mean, of course, if it's scripted, then you have the characters saying their exact things that they're supposed to say, but anything where there's people just kind of talking off the top of their heads or any sort of like reality type thing. I've never actually worked on a reality show, but I've worked on a lot of stuff where people are just talking. You have to pull out so much fluff to get to the meat of the issue. When you're in conversation with people, think about how much that you actually talk to people where it's just like garbage, boring fluff. Like, I think about that all the time. I'm like, how much would be cut out of this moment right here? Why do I think like that? I don't know. Let's keep going.
A very
your
clean
impact.
situation. This is what I did.
It
This
doesn't have
affected her,
to be
and whatever.
clean like yours. Okay?
I'm just
Stop
saying we'll
making it
change.
about how you experience it. Enough.
It's not about how I experience it.
You
Calm
don't
your tits.
understand
It's not about how I
anything,
experience
Kyle,
it. It's you
until
weren't telling the
experience
truth. You
it.
weren't telling the truth.
That's my
Just admit
truth.
that
You
you
don't
made it up.
understand it.
No.
And you never will.
So this moment right here where they're almost talking over each other, I guarantee you this is exactly how the conversation went because they're so like responding exactly to the person's last word. They're clipping the tails of each line. In this moment, they're just kind of, doing the same thing. Crystal, Kyle, reaction. Crystal, Kyle, reaction. Kyle, Crystal, reaction.
Oh, well.
No.
That's who you are.
No, that's actually not true.
You only
made
said you
something
understood
up.
because you don't want to get in trouble. That's why.
And by the way, I talked to you guys a little bit on the last episode about how their outfits kind of match the background, the background that's blurry. If you look at it, I mean, Crystal's bright yellow outfit, and I do not know if they plan this stuff out, but I'm telling you, it works. Her bright yellow dress matches what they call the bokeh, which is like sort of that blurry little lights in the background that kind of make that nice, beautiful blur. Kyle's dress matches her bokeh. I really, really want to know if they do that on purpose. Although like someone like Dorit, to me, her background with her dress and everything is like the least like aesthetically pleasing for me out of all of them. So maybe they don't. I don't know. I'm always curious about this stuff.
It's actually not true. We had a very nice conversation, and
Get
I
real.
understood that, like she
Enough,
said,
I'm
if
done
I
with you.
said that too, no, we're actually supposed to talk about these things.
I
Garcelle.
think you're talking about two
So,
different things.
We're talking about two
I
different
think you're
things.
talking about the
Completely two
experience
different
of how you
things.
felt, and I think she's talking.
So you see they kind of pull back to the wide shot when a lot of people are talking. You know, Erica's putting in her 2 cents, Andy's putting in his 2 cents. They're all kind of talking over each other. Now, instead of trying to cut quickly to everyone who's talking, we've seen it in episodes in other franchises where they've actually split the screen on people who are arguing. Instead, they have this really beautiful, of course, wide shot of everyone talking, so you can kind of get the sense like everyone's putting in their word here.
Either one of you guys think, feel, or believe that anyone here on the cast is racist?
No.
I think we all have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
The conversation has changed generationally. Your intentions aren't bad. It's just things are changing. And it's subtle, but yet the consequences are big.
Yes, for everybody.
All right.
Okay, again, big pause after kind of that, like, you know, statement by Erica and everyone's sort of agreeing. They put that big pause in there, and then you get
All right.
Andy's like, I'm finishing up this topic and we are moving on. And now we are about to get to some exciting editing, fun stuff coming up.
We're going to leave it there, and we'll be back with more after this. Okay, so here's what's going to happen.
Okay, I absolutely love these moments so much. I love the behind the scenes stuff. I love the breaking of the fourth wall stuff. Fourth wall, if you guys don't know, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this stuff, so you can skip forward. But the fourth wall is basically this wall right here. So when you hear people talking about breaking the fourth wall, that means really they are talking to camera, or they are, you know, getting out of the scene, if you will. I know it's reality TV, but they're acknowledging that there's a camera, that there's producers behind the camera, all that stuff. So when Andy kind of wraps it up and he says, you know, we're going to take a short break, and then the camera hangs on the ladies and you hear, you know, Lisa Rinna exhale and you hear them kind of like shuffling in their seats, you know, as an audience, and this should get you excited too, especially if you're a longtime fan like myself, you start to get excited like, ooh, usually they just cut straight to the commercial or cut straight to, you know, the ladies holding up their diamonds or whatever. But the fact that they didn't, it kind of gets you in this thing like, ooh, something's different. This is exciting. And the editors do that stuff on purpose. And then here, you know, they pulled back to the super wide shot so you can see the whole set while Andy's continuing to kind of explain what's going to happen next. Obviously, we can't see Andy that close up, so we don't know if this is actually the words that are coming out of his mouth during this shot right here. But, you know, they used it maybe as coverage. I have no idea.
We're going to do one more package, and then we are going to take a little break, and we're going to bring Kathy out. Okay? Fun, fun, fun.
I'm drinking something. I don't give
Yeah.
Okay, so again, we're seeing these nice behind the scene moments. We see Garcelle cuss. She's kind of leaning over the back of the couch, and then she comes up and she's like, I'm getting a drink. And then they have this cute moment. Her, Crystal, and Sutton, you know, are kind of standing together and having this moment like, we are going to drink something. Things are happening here.
Let's drink.
Because it's about, come on, let's do it.
Let's go. The three of us.
He said don't leave.
We're not leaving. We're just going to do a shot real quick.
I have to save my energy for what's coming up.
And then Kyle stands up. You know, we're seeing all these little moments. We're kind of checking in with each character in this behind the scenes moment. You know, we got the thing of Garcelle and Sutton and Crystal deciding to go do a shot. We see this shot of Kyle. Now we're going to see a little bit more about how she feels about what's coming up, since Andy just kind of set the stage. This is what is about to happen.
What's coming up?
This next part is going to...
Okay, so this is kind of exciting, right? The Suburban, you know, black Suburban drives up, and what do you hear? It sounds literally like Jaws music. I know I posted this in my community tab last week, but literally it's like the Jaws theme. They might as well put that in, which, you know, is to clue to us like, Kathy's coming, you know, something serious is about to happen. We all have been waiting for this moment. It's exciting. It should get our heart rates up. Maybe not actually, but it should kind of get us in this thing of like, ooh, we're excited, we're excited.
Gonna be a little tricky dicky.
Where's Kathy sitting?
Next to you.
Joy to the world.
And I just love all of that behind the scenes stuff. And while Kyle's talking to Andy and kind of whispering, you know, we have this really wide shot where we see all of the people. They're touching up makeup, they're checking sound, they're checking microphone boxes, they're probably readjusting stuff, doing hair. There's so much stuff that goes on kind of behind the scenes, and I love watching it on our Housewives. And then remember each moment that they cut out to the black car. Stinger, another kind of bong sound to get us in that like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
I can't believe I'm having coffee at this hour.
Okay, so what steps out of the black car but the slippers and the robe? If they had continued the Jaws music, it would have felt so silly and so like not congruous. So of course they have to put in sort of this silly, dopey, like dotty music. It's like we were waiting for a shark and we got a tadpole. We've talked a lot about contrast and tone shift here on the channel. It's for comedic relief. It's also to break the tension for the audience so they don't go do it themselves. And then we're kind of moving into like, okay, but we still know something's coming down, but it's also character development. We know something's about to come because we've all seen the trailer, but this is who we're dealing with. This is the character we're dealing with. We're dealing with slippers and robe on the way to, you know, a reunion for one of the biggest shows on Bravo.
Bill?
Just tell the truth. All I have to do is tell the truth. That's all there is. I don't have to do anything else.
You want a shot? Oh, okay. So first of all, they're cross-cutting between Kathy walking in, and they still have this sort of silly music on, and then Lisa Rinna, who is pretending, in my opinion, that she just is like speaking to herself, just talking to herself, but she happens to be doing it in a clear frame of the main camera. I just can't with her. I feel like the producing just never ends. I'm like, talking to yourself, first of all, is like something, when's the last time you did that? Let's put it that way. Like, when is the last time you talked to yourself, like while you're kind of pacing, and you know a camera's right there, like she probably sees the red light on. Like, I'm just like, Lisa, come on. Let's like, you're not fooling anyone. Like from the comments that I see on this channel, she's not fooling anyone. It's not just me. It's not just people who are like, I don't know, maybe in the industry kind of world or kind of know that. It's everyone. The other thing I wanted to point out was you can see that, you know, Andy also knows the camera's on, and you can see kind of Andy like hovering in the background, like he's trying to come up to Rinna to ask her something. I feel that from him a little bit, like he wants to come up to talk to Rinna about something, maybe kind of be like, how do you feel about this, you know, or something like that. But he didn't catch his moment because, you know, she's pacing and talking to herself.
Oh, yeah, I brought my tequila just in case anyone wants to try it.
Truth is the truth. That's all we're doing is just telling the truth.
Okay, so Kathy had to get her tequila plug in, which I respect. And then what I love is like the you know, makeup person just closing the door. And I just was like, they're just like, okay, we're about to have fun here. You know, we still see Andy, you know, right behind Lisa as she's pacing. It's really just all this tension building, even though the music is light and kind of silly. We should be seriously excited about what is to come, and also like feeling like, ooh, there's some suspense, but also it might be kind of fun and funny. It doesn't have that dark, heavy energy. And that's really what I think Bravo and these shows do so well, is they bring the drama without bringing this dark heaviness that a lot of us use these shows to escape from. And I've heard this from a lot of people, that they came to Housewives in a time that was a little bit darker, and Housewives kind of lifts their spirits a little bit. You still get the drama, the fun of all that, but it's not that serious. You know, they're fighting over like someone took a ribbon off a birthday cake, and you know, friendships are collapsing. It's definitely gotten heavier and more serious as time has gotten on. But still, there's like a lightness to it. When it starts going over to the darkness too much, I believe that's when they start to lose people. And they are, I personally think they're really good at bringing it back. So I'm curious what they're gonna do, because I do think this season got a little bit dark. I do think things have gotten a little bit dark, so I'm curious what they're gonna do next season. So anyway, you guys, that is it. I just wanted to cover those tiny little 5 minutes of the end of Reunion Part 2. I am so grateful to you guys for being patient with me. Hopefully you liked some of those throwback episodes that I put up, Scary Island and Dinner from Hell with our favorite Allison Dubois. Thank you so much for all of your beautiful comments about me having a baby and all of your well wishes. I haven't gotten back to all the comments yet because I've been otherwise engaged, but I definitely will. But more than anything, I just want to thank you guys for those. Thank you for subscribing, for watching. Hopefully I'm giving you enough, because I know your time is not free. So I'm giving you enough to make you feel, you know, like spending your time here is worth it. So I really appreciate it. And until next time.
Put me on pause. I don't care.
All right, we're gonna leave it there.